Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Doctors of Running virtual roundtable, where we three doctors of physical therapy discuss the art and the science of the stuff that we are putting on our feet. Today, we have a pretty fun episode because we get to talk about Newton running, as well as some biodegradable and some sustainable factors to the shoe. So the Newton Gravity 10 is the neutral daily trainer from Newton, and the Newton Motion 10 is the stability version of that shoe. And so today we'll be talking a little bit about that shoe, comparing the two, the midsole components and things like that. So the project that Newton's been doing, they're calling it EcoPure. That's their copyrighted material that they've been using to help with their EVAs and their uppers. It's 100% recycled polyester for the upper, and then they use that EcoPure substance for both the midsole and the membrane that they have incorporated into the shoe. So we'll kind of feed off of each other on this one, and I'll let Nathan go into the specifications for the shoe.
Sure. I'll list the specs for both, but even before that, I think there's a lot of the efforts being made. I was actually interviewed on another podcast recently, just through my work, and they asked about trends in the running world, and I got done and I was like, you know what, I missed probably one of the biggest trends, which is working on creating sustainability within the production of this stuff. Just knowing how high the carbon footprint is with this, like every company is starting to make efforts, and this is probably one of the bigger efforts too that's been put in by a company. I think the way that they've done some of these efforts with the actual recyclability and biodegradability of this shoe, right? Fully biodegradable, this one is. Both of these are, and so that's just a huge effort on their part and worth looking into and considering as you buy shoes. If you're thinking about the earth. Anyway, I got some specs. Really quick breakout. When I was in high school, one of the biggest YouTube videos was End of the World.
That triggered that immediately.
Did it really?
Yes. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
I rewatched it like probably a year ago, and I was like, why did I love this so much?
High school. That was like a foundation of our high school years. I totally understand.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It triggered it for me too. That's why I had to bring it up. All right. So we have the specs. I'm going to start with the Gravity 10. They're both very similar. So this one is 8.6 ounces. Both DJ and I have the Gravity. 8.6 ounces in a 3 millimeter drop. That 3 millimeter drop does not include the lugs. So if you add on the lugs, it's very close to zero, if not even negative. And then this is, again, their neutral shoe, whereas when you jump over to the Motion that Matt has, it comes in at 0.2 ounces more, 8.8 ounces, still a 3 millimeter drop, not including the lugs, and it's their stability shoe. So those are kind of the only difference is the stability built into it, and then you have that little bit of 0.2 ounce increase because of it.
Like most Newton shoes, the dual density, so the post on the medial side is in the midfoot to forefoot. There's nothing really here in the heel except what they will talk about geometry. But yeah, it's again a more forward post. So those people that need forefoot stability, this might be a good shoe. Although these tend to be pretty stable in the forefoot. Anyway,
It's been a long week.
It has been a long week.
Well, before we go further into the shoe, I do want to talk a little bit about their sustainability and what some of their goals are. So essentially, I'm not sure how they quantified it, but they're saying that these shoes can biodegrade in approximately 10 years compared to about 40 years for a normal running shoe. So it's about 4 times faster. And it's supposed to break down using microbes to become a non-toxic biomass and biogas. And so the way they're also doing this is they are using recycled plastic, and they're using approximately 4 bottles worth of recycled plastic in each shoe. So, fun fact there.
That's pretty cool.
Hi guys. Unfortunately, Klein did have to step out. Everything is okay, but we just weren't able to all record tonight. So you're going to get our review of the Newton Gravity 10 from me and Nathan. So we left off with sustainability and all of that, and I think we'll start off with the upper. So It's a traditional upper. I mean, it's 100% recycled polyester. Newton has always delivered really good uppers. They deliver again. This is an awesome upper. You can totally wear it sockless if you are a heathen. Just kidding. That only goes to Matt. Everyone else, you're all awesome people and we love you. But the upper is really good. It's got a relatively wide toe box and fit throughout, but the lacing system locks down pretty well. The tongue, it's not gusseted, but it fits pretty well. It's got a nice little hold over there. Midfoot hold is pretty solid. Again, fits a little wider, but it accommodates well if you lace it down. I had no problems in the heel, relatively normal width to slightly narrow maybe. But overall, really, really impressive on the fit. What did you think?
No, I agree a ton. So the tongue is it has the straps that attach it. It's not like a full gusset, but it is strapped on. So it shouldn't, I didn't have any problems with the laces moving, I guess. But yeah, I agree. It definitely has a very traditional Newton fit for those of you who ran in Newton. I just love, I don't know why I love their mesh uppers so much. They're comfortable, super light and breathable. And then the fit just works really well, locks down in the midfoot really well. And I'm becoming a lace snob, but I love flat laces. So, they got flat laces on here and I'm enjoying those. And, the heel is, what's that?
I was just going to say, that's how you have too many shoes when you start becoming a lace snob. I mean, of all things, like the shoe is great, but the laces, come on. Like,
no, I'm embarrassed.
Just kidding.
I'd say the heel, there's not a ton of padding in here. Very, there's some padding, but not a ton. And I would say it sits a little bit on the wider side, but not so wide that you slip a ton, but it's not like it's hugging your heel a lot. But I agree. I mean, Newton just delivers on their uppers for me. I love wearing this thing around clinic because the upper is just super comfortable. And I was having a hard time determining if this thing looks awesome or it looks like it's from the 90s, but even the high school kids that come in are like, no, that's a sweet looking shoe. So
no, it's a good looking shoe. I was actually going to comment on that like after you finished. I was like, aesthetically, someone told me that I look like Flash.
Oh yeah.
So take that as a compliment. Red on yellow, black little streak right there. It's a good looking shoe.
The other thing, they usually do this, but usually maybe is a strong word, but they did with the Fate when we tested the most recent Fate. And the tongue is reflective, which is nice. And just usually they have some reflective stuff like throughout the entire shoe, which is also a nice little perk. So yeah, but again, I think they nailed the upper. It's going to fit a lot of foot types. It's just super comfortable. Toe guard's there, but it does what it's supposed to do. So,
yeah, I thought it was a really, really solid upper. So I guess now we could transition over to the ride.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's that?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So we should record together more often. For the viewers that don't know, me and Nathan, we just bicker back and forth at each other constantly. So
yeah, usually
that's our relationship.
Actually, can we do this in front of everybody? Usually what he and Bach, our social media guy, are doing is they're razzing me about that Giannis isn't actually good at basketball. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2-time reigning MVP for the Milwaukee Bucks, that he's not actually good at basketball. Can you just tell me, like, do you actually not think he's good, or is it just to get under my skin?
A little bit of both.
Oh, no, it can't be both.
A little bit of both. He has some talent.
Oh, my gosh. Or as James Harden would say, it doesn't take any talent to be 7 feet tall.
Right.
Like,
the guy's got size. He's got decent feet on him. He can pivot. He can turn. But like I said, it's that outer game he struggles with. He's gotten better, but he's just not. I don't know. He's not LeBron. He's not one of those kinds of players.
No,
he's still a great player. He's not a bad player.
He's a in the paint player, right? So he's like a true power forward, like in the paint, not like a Kevin Durant power forward.
Exactly. But if you're going to win a championship, you got to extend that range out a little bit.
Or go to teams that have 1 million stars like Kevin Durant.
I mean, Kevin's probably going to get it done with Brooklyn. We'll see.
Yeah, and they also have 3 MVPs on their team. No,
Oh, but
Kyrie
you guys
was.
got the 2-time reigning MVP that scored 49 points last night. Yeah.
He did that today. Anyway.
Anyways,
All right.
sorry. We'll talk about shoes now.
Matt's gonna be so mad at us for deviating. So yeah, I don't even. We were talking about the ride of this shoe.
Yep.
And for me, the Fate was this like true transition shoe into the Newton line. Like I felt like there was some similarities between what I was used to in a lot of my typical running shoes, and then the Fate. But then it had that little the Newton splash where you got to experience that their action reaction technology, the membrane. Like they said, there's 11 or 13 different things between the bottom here and where your foot touches. So there's a lot going on, and you kind of got the best of both worlds. Some cushion in the heel. They had the Newtonian foam, and it had some cushion there. This one is very different for me. It was a lot harder for me to get comfortable in, and this is a personal thing. It personally won't work for me. For people who like Newton, who can handle a low drop, who can handle potentially negative drop because it's only 3 millimeters, without including this again. I just had a hard time utilizing the shoe in the way it was, where it just more felt like I was kind of coming up over the lugs a little bit more than actually like rolling through them and kind of springing off of them like I could in the Fate. And then in the heel, because I do land a little bit farther back, it just didn't have enough for my own comfort. It was definitely I would describe it very firm, natural ground-like ride because there wasn't a whole lot of give to it. So that's kind of where I was at in my initial thoughts of right here. But what did you think?
Yeah, I had a lot of similar thoughts as well. The Newtonium that I experienced in the Fate and in the Distance S9, it just wasn't the same in this shoe. For better or worse, I don't know. But I mean, it is a biodegradable shoe in midsole, and they probably sacrificed a little bit of responsiveness with that. But the action reaction technology just doesn't integrate as well on this shoe for me personally. I feel like I'm landing on the lugs, but I'm not rolling off of them or getting much out of them. But if I go and run in like dirt or grass, it feels pretty nice. It just feels like the foam just feels a little bit flat to me, and I'm not coming off of those lugs like I would like to on the road or in firmer surfaces. So I wasn't overly impressed with the ride, but it does have that traditional Newton feel to it, though. It just doesn't quite have as much suspension. I think the ART could have been done a little bit better on this specific model. But
Yeah.
I had the same experience. The heel was a little bit firm and flat, and I felt like I was almost a little bit more slappy on the lugs than I would have liked to be.
And I was thinking back to the Fate too. Something that shoe has that this one doesn't is kind of, I don't know if it would technically they would still call it the membrane, but this kind of rubber portion extends a little bit further into the midfoot. And I think that could be part of what creates a little bit more of that like full roll, like because you're rolling up onto the rubber a little bit earlier, which helps you get up onto the lugs. The other thing that I'd say, I mean, every Newton I've had, I love running in them on trails and grass. Like they feel so secure there. And I feel like I can get going a little bit better and get on with the foam. And how that interacts, probably because of the natural feel of it, because there's just a little bit less underfoot, but I do like taking these on grass more.
Yeah, it's very lightweight, very nimble. Pretty much every Newton I've worn, I've had that same feeling. And so I think because I'm not super lightweight on my feet, I think the forgiveness of the foam in some of those other models work better for me. I think this one does sit a little bit more firm, and it doesn't quite have as much of a bounce or rebound to it. So if you're already pretty light in your feet and you can kind of just keep it going along, it might feel pretty nice. It actually might feel better than the other models. It just isn't the model for me. This is probably, I hate to say this, but this probably is my least favorite Newton that I've put on my feet, but that's just a personal preference based on the models I've run in. I loved the Distance S9. I liked the Fate a lot. This one just wasn't for me.
No, that's the beauty of of, the fact that there are a lot of different options out there within companies and between companies. So, if you really want to do Newton, there's not just one option. When I actually just pulled up the Fate just to come back in, and the Fate they call it a 4.5 millimeter drop. So close to that 5 millimeter drop there. The weight is pretty much the same. So for me, adding a little bit of weight, having a little bit extra drop, which added, a little bit of that cushion, probably was part of the benefit for me. But like I said, that's the beauty of having variety between models within a company, and then between companies. You can really hone in on what's going to work for you and why.
For sure. Any thoughts on stability or anything like that? I
always think forefoot stability is really solid in these. I think that the way that the lugs and the ART, the action reaction technology is just integrated with this membrane, it creates a really solid, stable platform that still has a nice flex groove through the toe. So you can load up onto here. If you're getting sloppy and you're falling in or out, if somebody has like a flexible first ray or like big toe, not the actual toe itself, but below that on the ray, the metatarsal, some of that stuff can be accounted for in the way that Newton creates their shoes in general. And then they add in their stability elements, which are more, and Matt will talk about this. He'll hit the motion 10, but I do think forefoot stability is strong. And the other part of stability is that with a shoe like this, you're going to have the inherent stability where your tibialis posterior, for the inside of your ankle, your peroneals on the outside of your ankle, they're going to be working. And so you got to be strong to be able to run in this shoe, which I think in general, we should be strong enough to run. We don't run to get strong. You gotta be strong to be able to run. And you definitely need that ankle and foot stability, your intrinsic muscles of your foot. I think you're going to need that to be able to run well in this shoe.
I agree completely. I feel like even firsthand running in the shoe, you can almost feel that you don't need quite as much mobility at the great toe because of that drop off the lug, but you feel a lot more activation in that tib post, in that peroneal. For me, it was the proximal gastrocnemius, both heads. Like up top, I was getting I could just feel those guys working a lot.
Yeah.
And really all of those stabilizing muscles, they're going to be kicking in this shoe, and you just need to be stable enough to run in it.
Yep.
There's not much way around it on this one.
Right. If this shoe were a day of the week, what would it be and why?
If this shoe were a day in the week, what would it be?
Giannis?
Giannis is not a day.
Giannis is the answer to anything and everything.
I feel like we're on a SpongeBob episode. No, mayonnaise is not an instrument, Nathan. But anyways, I'm going to go with Tuesday, because Monday I wake up, I might be a little bit grumpy, I'm coming off of the long run the day before. It's just a recovery day. Just get through it. Tuesday, you start getting a little bit more light in you. And so, but you're still far enough from the week at the end of the week. And just because this isn't really a home run with me personally, I feel like this is a nice shoe. It's light, it's nimble. It's just not my shoe. But there's other shoes out there, and there's other shoes from Newton, other companies that are solid. And we'll get to those later in the week.
Yeah. I was going to say Tuesday as well. Slightly different reasons. Tuesdays are my, I get to work at 5:30 a.m. and I get home at usually 6:15 p.m. So it's my long day. I'm still trying to get in the rhythm of the week. And sometimes I just feel like I'm just not quite in my rhythm, in the morning. And I just get that. And that's why I said this. I'm you said, it wasn't your shoe. And I think that's how it was for me. This wasn't my shoe. But for people who, that's not the question is just what day of the week. That's my answer is Tuesdays. Nice. There are people who are going to like this, and it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be the Newton faithful who've excelled in it. I think I'd be interested to hear from people who have been in Newton for a long time. I believe they just transitioned to the 5-lug system recently from 4, and just hearing how they feel like that transition has gone, and getting more feedback from that. I'd love to hear what people say. I like the I like the Warriors. I'm not anti-Warrior.
Never said
Not
you were. I never said you were. Never said you were.
I know. Oh man, we should just have a whole episode dedicated to basketball.
We really
I
should.
don't know where that-
We should.
Okay.
But
I don't know. That'd be very off-brand of what we do, but that's fine.
can you
Good
feel
deal.
the gravity of the situation?
There we go. Well, after DJ and I get done here, actually Matt's gonna hop on. He's gonna record by himself his review of the Motion 10, and so it's gonna cut straight from us right here, straight to Matt. So Matt, take it away.
Hey everyone, Matt here from Doctors Running, following up from the conversation you just saw with David and Nathan. I had to peace out a little bit early because I had some tutoring with some of my students that I had to meet with late at night. So here's the follow-up with they talked about the Newton Gravity, this is the Newton Motion. So this is the mild stability version of the Gravity. It is its own shoe. So they utilize, unlike other companies, they do have a post, but the post is more in the midfoot and forefoot rather than the midfoot and heel, which is much more common. Obviously, the other big thing about this is the very thick lugs right here that are fairly aggressive. It blows my mind that this is version 10. I remember when the first version came out, I was in college. That was 10 plus years ago. I'm not going to think about that too deeply. Anyway, different shoe than that point. So this is very interesting. So this is your more traditional Newton. We've been talking about shoes like the Kismet, which are a little bit more transitional Newton shoes, meaning the lugs aren't as aggressive, the drop might not be as low. So this is a 3mm drop, 8.8 ounces in a men's size 9. It is in the stability category, but still in that lightweight trainer, light stability trainer category. But very low drop and very aggressive. I would say that with this, that's the 3mm drop from my understanding is not with the lugs. So you're sitting at almost a negative drop here. And these lugs don't compress a ton. So when I first got these, it was a little colder here in Southern California, colder being relative to the rest of you and the rest of the country. But the lugs were not compressing very well. It took about 10-15 miles for these to actually start giving just a little bit. And man, these take a little bit of time to break in. I'd say for those people that are used to Newton shoes, these are going to feel great. This is what you're used to, except there's now a green twist where a lot of the materials here are made with reusable, recyclable materials, which is great, but they've still kept a really nice upper. So here's the thing that Newton does do well. These shoes the uppers are phenomenal. Like some of the best that I've experienced for wearing sockless. They feel great. There is a heel counter here that I barely feel, but just really nice skin, upper on skin contact. Really good room up in the forefoot, not ultra wide where it's like super loose, but it's just enough room. You can get some toe splay in a little more anatomical fit. Just a hair snugger in the rear foot and fairly normal width in the forefoot. So pretty typical for a Newton where it's got good toe box room, but it's not excessive. This is still a shoe that you can probably move well in. The sole, like I said, heel's actually a little bit softer than the previous version, but man, the lugs, they're pretty hard. If you're not used to this kind of shoe, I'd highly suggest going to something like the Kismet or even something like the Distance or Distance S. Is going to be a little bit less aggressive than this version. If you like aggressive, if you want really good ground feel, this is going to feel really good. It can move. For those days you're like, I want to pop off the ground, I want to move. Even though it's 8.8 ounces, this shoe can rock it. This can move fairly quickly. You just got to be a little cautious given the lower drop and the more aggressive forefoot ride. So again, the ride, definitely firmer, a little softer in the heel compared to the last version, a little firmer in the forefoot. This is going to work really well for people that either have really neutral mechanics and maybe have a little late stage pronation here. So, and as we talked about on Doctors Running, you can pronate at any point in the foot. You can have good control. You can have not good control. It depends on the person. The post really is much more in the forefoot. So when I fatigue and I've got a little bit more pronation in the rear and I start slowing down, there's really not a lot here and I'll start pivoting over this. And it catches me a little bit through here, but just know this is really meant for people up front. Those people that have true
forefoot stability issues, this is going to be a great shoe just because there is posting up here. For those who need to do the full length of the shoe, they may not have enough here. So fairly more neutral in the rear foot, which is great. It's a little softer here, which is interesting, but it transitions to a fairly firm right up here. One of the things I had trouble with is the flexibility. The flex point for me tends to be right over the lugs. So unless I'm moving a little faster, it tends to be a little bit of a stiffer ride until I warm up. So no, it just takes a little bit. It definitely takes time to break the shoe in and get used to it. I highly encourage you, if you've never run a Newton shoe before, ease into this. Wear it around the house, walk around in it before you try running in it, just because it is much more aggressive than a lot of things on the market. This is not a maximalist shoe. This is more kind of your old school minimalist-esque with some good improving cushioning through here. But it's just very, for those people who are like, I don't want a ton of cushion, I don't want a fluffy ride, I want something that's going to help me move, this is definitely it. A really nice companion to a shoe like the Distance S or the Kismet would be a nice couple of shoes to have in your rotation if you want lower drop, if landing up front is important to you, or if just having some good proprioceptive feedback in the forefoot is good. You don't have to be a forefoot striker to run in a shoe like this, as evidenced by they're putting a little bit more heel cushioning back here. But people who like some pop off the forefoot and want a little bit more like kick up here, it's a good shoe. Just definitely know it's very firm. It's not, there's not a lot of things on the market like this. So it's an interesting shoe, super comfortable. I'm going to emphasize it again. Walking around, I love this shoe as for wearing all day when my Achilles can handle it, which Achilles is doing better, so I can start running in this shoe again. But it's just, it's very different, very Newton-esque, but very aggressive. So I'd actually consider, for most people, if they were asking me, hey, when would I use this shoe? I'd say start with something like the Kismet first, ease into maybe something like this if you want maybe a little bit more up-tempo, a little more aggressive, and then if you really want your workout shoe, you're going to look at the Distance. So it's interesting because this is supposed to be the training shoe, the stability training shoe. I would honestly choose one of the other ones for training and probably use this one for a little more faster days just because it's more aggressive. But yeah, interesting again, the use Newton's moving toward using recyclable materials. That's really cool. I think almost the entire length of the shoe, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, lacing really holds the shoe down. It's just good. So I'm rambling here. I'll stop. I obviously just came back from a run. It's definitely a good update of the previous ones. Just again, I'm going to say it for the millionth time. If you're not used to this stuff, please ease into it. And we'll have a full review of the Newton Motion here, the Newton Motion 10, the 10th version. I can't believe this. We'll have a full review on the website coming up pretty quick. But thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all the things that Bach has set up. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn, which I still can't believe. We've got Reddit, we've got Facebook, we've got everything now. So like us, follow us. We got us, obviously, YouTube, but follow us there and keep up because we're going to have some cool stuff coming out here really soon. All right, take care, everybody, and this is an awkward way to end this.